morning, Horry and Georgetown counties. We welcome you to Sound Off. Now, Sound Off is heard weekly on your favorite radio station. It's always our goal at Sound Off to deal with topics that are relevant to you, the community, and always relevant to our young people. At Sound Off, before I introduce our young people or allow them to introduce themselves, we're really happy to have as our very special guest, we have Pastor Philip Gillard, Sergeant Philip Gillard, and Granddaddy Philip Gillard. And he wears several hats, but he's the pastor of the Miracle Tabernacle Church of God in Christ, which is located in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and also an ROTC instructor at Loris High School. Y'all, let's give it up for our very special guest, Elder Philip Gillard. Yeah. Good morning, Elder Gillard.
Good morning.
It is so good to have you.
It's my pleasure.
My name is Claudine Lance Schofield, but more importantly, Sound Off crew, would you like to introduce yourselves at this time?
Hello, my name is R.O.A.R. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. This is Ishmael.
Good morning. I'm Avriel.
And once again, Elder Gillard.
Good morning.
We have a Sound Off crew. We talk very often about the importance of, I'm happy. Let me say one thing before we get started. I am so honored to have such intelligent, articulate, handsome, and goal-oriented young men that works with Sound Off. And so we talk a lot. A lot of our issues deal with the females, but for today, Pastor Gillard, we're going to celebrate men and talk about the importance of men. When I was growing up, and you as well, we were raised in a very healthy village. But I'm intelligent enough to know that in order to keep the village healthy, or in order to get our village healthy again, we must have strong men.
Absolutely.
So that brings me to an acronym that you have that we're going to talk about this morning, and it's R.O.A.R. So let's get started with R.O.A.R. and tell us exactly what that means.
R.O.A.R. is the acronym that I use to basically bring about an awareness of some of the things that are very important to our masculinity. So the word R.O.A.R. in and of itself stands for respect, ownership, accountability, and responsibility. And through this acronym, you can create a dialogue with males that give you to understand the differences in what are perspectives or, positions that we take in regards to how we look at what is respectful, what we're willing to own, be accountable, and responsible for.
Okay, so let's talk about the very first, respect. How important is it? And I see he's shaking his head because you're a respectful young man, right? But how important is respect?
Respect for a man is the ultimate, goal, really. Understanding some of the hats I wear. The principles I use are all biblical. They're spiritual principles. And even in giving instructions to what is the union that God ordained called marriage, husbands are to love their wives, according to Ephesians 5:25, but then the wife is to honor her husband, and that word is respect. So at the end of the day, this whole respect piece is vitally important to a man, because if we don't feel respected or honored, then it does something to what is our response, our actions, and how we even look at what is our self-worth.
Okay.
And, there's been this concept, and there's a lot of different perspectives about what respect is.
Mm-hmm.
So you can ask, a couple of different people what that means, and you'll get a couple of different answers, even from one male to another.
Okay. And what did you have, Terrell?
Like you said earlier, respect is a valuable a characteristic that a male should have. If a male doesn't have respect for him, respect for other people, and respect for the people around him, that can mess with his mentality. Like, if other people don't respect him, he'll feel like, well, he's not as he should be. He's not as, of a man as he should be. So when it comes to respect for a man, it's important to have him so he can have that confidence for him, so he can, don't be like, just have respect for other people. And, just, if you, like the saying, if you get respect, you get respect back. So if you have respect for a male, make sure it's a good respect, Yes.
Okay. All right. What did you have, Ishmael?
As far as respect goes, I mean, there are different definitions of respect. It can be, I mean, you doing something to get attention or get somebody's acceptance. You can get respect off that. I mean, there's a lot of different kind of respect, but I think the respect that you're talking about, as far as husband and wives, like for a husband to love their wife and the wife to respect their husband and to help him achieve his goals as a family. Absolutely. I think that's very important.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk about, since nobody on the panel is married except Pastor Gillard and myself, let's talk about the importance of respect among their peers in terms of, I mean, a lot of times, especially as young men, as they relate to the young ladies, how essential is that?
Well, it's very essential, but unfortunately, when you don't have what I would consider to be a certain amount of self-worth or self-respect, that in and of itself causes a void. So you can't really give what you don't have.
Okay.
What I'm seeing is a lot of anger towards relationships that are built between men, because we'll demand respect, but at the same time, it's one of those things that you have to give.
Okay.
You don't have to earn my respect. I'm going to give that to you. My respect isn't based on how you see me. My respect is based on the fact that I understand who I am and how I should act, and not always react to what is a stimuli or something that may be negative towards me. So there comes this whole ownership piece, because it doesn't matter what you say or do, I still have to own what I say or do.
Okay.
And whatever you say or do, it says more about you than me. So this whole respect piece, a lot of males become confrontational because of a lack of identity. How do I show you respect when maybe something you said or a perception I have about you puts me at a place where I can't fully respect you, simply because I may not agree with the way that you may act, speak, or do something. So, it's a lot of different things that come into play, but you asked about the female part.
Right.
I don't know that this is a one-size-fit-all, but what I've seen is male and females tend to be a little bit more respectful towards females than males, simply because, we living in a very matriarchal society right now. Mothers are raising families. So boys grow up being submissive to mom. Girls grow up being submissive to mom. And, men, we get the brunt of what is a lot of the anger from males and females, boys and girls, because anytime I take on the role that even sends the message that I'm trying to be like daddy.
Right.
I'm going to be resisted, male and female. I deal with that on a daily basis in the classroom, because, one of the hats I wear is I'm a father, a very proud father, and that's innate in who I am. And so I'm always look to be that protecting type, and also giving instructions. And, with my military background, with all the training I've had in leadership, understand that you'll never be a better leader than what you are a follower. So I am going to steer you in right directions. But this whole respect piece, there's a lot of different things that come into play with that. So when I meet with men, I'll ask, hey, what does respect mean to you? And whatever is important, I make a note of that, because I want to always make sure that I give that to that particular individual. I don't have to agree.
Okay.
But I will give them that, because I know that that's important to them.
Okay. And what did you have, Ariel?
You mentioned that the acronym R.O.A.R stands for Respect, Ownership, Accountability, and Responsibility. Do you think that respect would be the most important letter of that acronym?
I really do, and that's why I put it up front. Respect, goes right along with manners, and I got 1,000 different little sayings, but manners will take you places that money won't.
Right.
A simple yes, ma'am, thank you, please, opens the doors, and it leaves a very lasting impression. So respect is vital, and yes, I do think that that's what leads into you taking ownership of your actions and being accountable and responsible for your actions also.
So Elder Gillard, what do we say to the younger generation, the young men, that they really have respect twisted? In other words, I'm going to represent for, whatever organization or whatever you're affiliated with. A lot of times, and I don't want to go into the gang thing, but what about the gang members that, say, well, in order for me to get respect, I have to do this. And so it's really twisted. The respect you're talking about, I absolutely understand. It's that positive aspect. But unfortunately, everybody doesn't understand what you're talking about. How do we get the male generation, or how do we get the males to understand the importance of not just respect, but the positive aspect of respect?
You got to model that behavior.
Okay.
I am every bit whole the black man that you see on the corner also.
Okay.
I could be the gang banger myself. And to tell you the truth, there's a certain amount of popularity that comes with being the bad guy.
Right.
And even good girls, they really like bad boys, and that's just the truth. And so a guy will even put on the mask of being a thug simply because he might want to impress a young lady.
Okay.
But for me, the whole respect is this. Listen, I understand. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but I found out. The main thing is for me to make sure I connect with that brother and let him know, listen, what you're doing, it ain't unique or new to just you.
Okay.
And before I start trying to take away anything, first of all, I just want to connect. And I want you to understand, because before people want to know how much you know, they want to know how much you care.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, we're humans. Even though we can act contrary at times, there's something in us, a spirit in us that connects with truth. Okay? And I've had situations where, you got little boys and even men that grow up thinking the only real emotion you can show is anger.
Okay.
But guess what? Some of that is hurt. Some of that is insecurity. Some of that is a lot of pain, which is another part of the acronyms that I use, okay? But whenever we get our priorities straight, when we understand the value that we have and what we bring to the table, then we can affect change. But there's so many needs that are still not met with the man. Because what happens to the little boy who grows up and never was validated by his father?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And now he's a man, he's a father and a grandfather, but there's something that he still doesn't know about himself. And, one of the things that happens is men resist masculinity sometimes. It's key, see, because everything a woman is, a man isn't. So there's only so much a woman can do to bring a boy to a place of masculinity. And what happens is when a boy is overly mothered, he usually gets to an age and rebels against his mother. And
Say that again.
If he's mothered too much,
Okay.
he'll get to a place where he rebels against her.
Wow.
It just happens, because he can't be what she is, and she cannot give him what he needs at a certain point. Boys got to become men.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
nothing other than that, okay? But then the flip side of that, it takes a man to invest into a boy.
Right,
so
absolutely.
you got to have surrogate fathers. But how do you make a connection with a heavenly father if you never had a biological father? And then the men that are in your circle, they telling you about things to help you survive in the environment they're surviving in. So, you'll have somebody say, listen, I got much rep on the street.
Right.
Well, yeah, if you're going to live in the streets, you need that.
That's right.
And so you gravitate or migrate to what is comfortable for you, But there's an innate quality in all men to want a fellowship, too. So if we're going to hang out on the corner, we're going to hang out on the corner.
Right.
If we're going to do what we're going to do, we're going to do it together. But if we can ever get the priority on where it needs to be with the family, and then let's do some family stuff. Oh, my God.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What a difference, right?
Absolutely. Ain't no greater reward.
That's right.
Because you leave a great legacy.
Right.
So, this is my heart.
It's obvious. That's why. Listen, hold that thought, Pastor Gillard. Horry and Georgetown counties, you're listening to Sound Off with our very special guest, Elder Philip Gillard, and we'll be right back.